Outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden signed a record-breaking U.S. defense budget, which will amount to $895 billion for 2025, which is 1% more than last year. Before that, the Pentagon budget was approved by both the Senate and Congress practically without amendments and disputes, meaning that money for war is equally close to the hearts of both Democrats and Republicans. The trend is obvious. The United States is not going to abandon its policy of solving issues by military force. On the contrary, they are getting a taste for it. One is tempted to talk about militant imperialism, a powerful military-industrial complex lobby, and so on. But the matter is much deeper. Interestingly, the dove of peace, Trump did not comment on the signed budget at all. The reason is simple. He considers the potential billion-dollar earnings of the largest defense companies on the Ukrainian conflict a mercifully thrown bone, because he plans to earn incomparably more in Ukraine. And he wants to make money not on war, but on peace. After Trump's numerous statements about millions of victims and the terrible destruction in Ukraine that must be put to an end as soon as possible, one might get the impression that he was once bitten by Mahatma Gandhi. But in fact, everything that Trump says and does should be assessed on one simple scale: the scale of profit. Even his new administration, where for the first time in American history as many as 13 billionaires have been appointed to key government posts, points to the true priorities of the elected president in resolving the Ukrainian conflict. These priorities are simple, transparent, and obvious. To stop the active military conflict, which brings profit only to a handful of military corporations, and even then only momentarily, and to turn the remains of Ukraine into a new U.S. colony, which, like a miracle mill, will forever generate profit for the Americans. The normal capitalist background of Trump's peace initiatives is revealed by an interesting report circulating in the American domestic kitchen. Here are a couple of quotes. Without limiting itself to immediate military needs, the central pillar of U.S. strategy is the reconstruction of Ukraine's infrastructure. The cost of reconstruction, at nearly $500 billion, signals Ukraine's long-term integration into Western political and economic systems. Once Ukraine is inevitably stabilized, American companies will have unprecedented access to post-war reconstruction opportunities. In the technology, agriculture, and infrastructure sectors alone, the market size is at least $250 billion. The involvement of American corporations in Ukraine's reconstruction is critical. Already, hundreds and hundreds of American companies are standing at the starting line in the remnants of Ukraine, joyfully waiting for the end of military actions. Their number was unwittingly revealed some time ago by the human rights organization, Business and Human Rights Resource Center, in its report on how Western enterprises are suffering from Russian aggression. Such companies as BASF, Bosch, Carlsberg, Chevron, Credit Suisse, Eni, Ericsson, Gunvor, Hewlett-Packard, Uniper, and dozens of others have declared their suffering. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD, has gone all out in Ukraine. According to its Ukrainian division, immediately after the Russian invasion, they made a strategic decision not to reduce but to increase their investments in Ukraine. The logic is as old as the world. You need to buy up tasty assets cheaply when blood is flowing. At the same time, the main question is one: how to do it so that you don't lose the investments you've already made, and so that the next ones are protected. Penny Pritzker, the head of the American structure called Ukraine Reconstruction and Economic Recovery, gave an interesting interview to the NPR Resource, where she expressed confidence that American investments in Ukraine are not in danger, since 60% of the country's territory is not affected by the war, so investments are definitely possible. However, since then, the interest rates and the untouched territories not yet captured by Russia have shrunk significantly, in connection with which large American businesses cleared their throats and said, "Friends, this way we will be left without pants at all, and we still have to feed our grandchildren with Ukraine. It's time to stop the war already." Donald Trump clearly listened to his billionaire friends, clicked his abacus, smiled, and loudly exclaimed, "To the sunny world, yes, 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 to a nuclear explosion, no, no, no." The abacus will not lie. If you compare the U.S. earnings from aid to Ukraine during and after the war, then the peaceful money will be at least 10 times more, and you will also be given the Nobel Peace Prize. The Europeans, who were watching the master's hand with an unblinking gaze, reacted to the change of topic immediately. Over the past few days, Finland and Norway have expressed a burning desire to grab crumbs from the master's table, or rather to participate in the post-war restoration of Ukraine. And German Chancellor Scholz called on German companies to urgently invest in Ukraine as a future EU member. Against the backdrop of the accelerating advance of Russian troops in Ukraine, the hysteria of calls for peace from Western countries is sharply increasing for one simple reason. Large Western businesses really want to profit from the restoration of Ukraine and ultimately take permanent control of the entire remaining economy there, which is why it is critically important to prevent the Russians from seizing more territory, as happened in Germany in 1945. Everything is repeating itself. And what about Ukraine and the Ukrainians? Everything is as always. Aid has never been and will never be free. And what remains of Ukraine will ultimately lose both its independence and its future.